Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to create a main menu completely from scratch. Let's begin by looking at the media we're going to be using in our menu. Here we have the main logo in PNG format, we have a seamless background in PNG format, and we have a font we're going to use in TTF format. Let's go ahead and bring these into our project. Now, before we do anything, it's really important that we open the EVO wizard. To do that, just navigate to Window and click on EVO Wizard, and you can drag this into your inspector to dock it. Let's begin by setting up the main logo. To do that, click on the logo image in your project window, and then in the EVO Wizard, click Create Sprite Bundle. Once you do this, you'll see that a prefab has been created alongside your image, and this contains information about the sprite. You'll notice that the resolution drop-down is marked in red. This is because we currently haven't specified what resolution this image was designed for. Let's say that we design this logo for the iPad, which has a resolution of 1024 by 768. The lower of those two values is 768, so we will choose 768 for the resolution. If the resolution you designed your media for isn't in this list, then you can just create a new resolution by clicking here, and to set the resolution size, simply rename the generated prefab. For example, if we wanted to support SVGA, which is 800 by 600, then we choose the lower value there, which is 600, and set that as the prefab's name. And now you'll see that the prefab detects that it's supporting SVGA. Next, let's set up this background image. Again, we click on Create Sprite Bundle, and we choose a resolution to be native to iPad. If choosing the resolution for every single bundle is a bit too tedious for you, then you can choose the default resolution here. So now whenever we make new bundles, this resolution will automatically be set. Now you'll notice that there's one difference between this main menu logo and our seamless background image, and that's that the border here is transparent and our seamless background has a repeating border. To set this in EVO, go to our sprite bundle here, and on the border inspector field, let's choose repeat. Now that these two sprites have been set up, it's time to set up the font. To do that, let's choose the font and click Create Font Bundle. Now you'll see lots of options. The most important one here is the supported character string. By default, only the space character is supported, but for example, if you want to support the numbers, then just type in all the numbers and then click Generate, and a font sheet will be generated for you. If you want to support lots of characters but don't like typing all of them, then you can click Add Preset and then uppercase, lowercase, numbers, symbols, and then when you're done, click Generate. Now you'll see the font sheet has all of these characters. You'll also notice that this PNG file is in your project folder, so you can open this in your favorite image editing program and add effects such as drop shadow, a gradient, or whatever you like. If however you want the font to be larger, or you want more spacing between characters, then you can adjust that here. The cell size adjusts the spacing between characters, so if we increase this to 64 and regenerate, you can see now we have lots of space between each character, so we can add some really big glowing effects or drop shadow or something. But if we want the font to be bigger, just change the font size here, let's say 32, click Generate, and now we have a pretty big font. Now that we've set up these three bundles, it's time to create an atlas. To do that, click Create Atlas. Now we need to choose what resolutions we support. Right now, let's say we support only the iPad. Next, we need to add bundles. You'll see this list has lots of items. This is because it includes all of the EVO example bundles. If finding bundles in this list is too tedious for you, then you can just select the bundles in your project window like this. See, I've selected 3 bundles, and then in the EVO wizard you'll see it says you have selected 3 bundles, and then add selection to, and then add it to the atlas we created here. Now if we go back to the atlas, we will see that we have our 3 bundles added to it. If you want to remove a bundle, then just click any of the X's here. If you want to add more, then add more. And also note that if you change any of your bundles, for example if I change this image or if I change the font, you have to go back to the atlas and click rebuild. If you have lots of atlases and clicking rebuild is a bit tedious, then just click rebuild all atlases in the wizard here. Now that we've created our atlas, it's time to create the GUI. To do that, click create GUI, and you'll see that the GUI needs to know what kind of atlases you'll support. For this demo we only have one atlas, so let's just choose the atlas here. And now let's make a canvas. A canvas allows us to draw elements to the screen, for example buttons or sprites. There are 2 types of canvases in EVO. There's the 2D canvas and the 3D canvas. In this demo we'll only be covering the 2D canvas. So to create a 2D canvas, simply select a camera, such as the main camera here, click on create container, and then click on 2D canvas. Now if you look in the scene view, in front of our camera there's a canvas. This canvas automatically resizes to the size of your screen and the orientation of your device. For example, if you have a iPad or iPhone or whatever and you rotate it, then this will automatically be set for you. Now let's add a sprite to our canvas. To do that, make sure you select the canvas in the hierarchy, click create container, and then select sprite. Now you'll see a little box has been added into our canvas here, but there's nothing in it because we haven't chosen a sprite yet. To do that, click the drop down here and choose the game logo sprite, and you'll see it's been added. Next we add the wallpaper. To do that, let's select the canvas again, let's go to create container and let's click on wallpaper. A wallpaper allows you to tile a sprite. For example, if we wanted to tile the logo across the screen, then we select game logo and you see the game logo is tiled across the screen. If you want to change the amount of tiling, then adjust that here. But we want to have the tiling background, this one, the hexagon one. So let's change the sprite bundle to the seamless hexagons. Now you'll notice one problem right away, and that's the seamless hexagons are being drawn on top of the main logo. This is because they're siblings and currently they have the same priority value. In the case of this example, we can move the logo so it's a child of wallpaper. This means the logo will always be drawn on top of the wallpaper. But there are certain situations where you can't do this, where they have to be siblings. If you encounter that kind of situation, then you can just adjust the priority here. So for example, right now they both have priority of 0, which means either one could be drawn on top. If we want the sprite to always draw on top, then we increase the priority to 1. If we want it to draw behind the wallpaper, then we make that -1, and the wallpaper has 0. So if they're siblings, the wallpaper here will always be drawn on top. But for this demo, let's just move the sprite on top of the wallpaper. Now let's move the logo up a bit and let's add some text. Let's say we want a button that says new game. So let's click on our wallpaper because we want to add the text as a child of our wallpaper, and then we click create container and then click text. Now for the text we have to choose a font bundle. We only have one font in our atlas, so let's just choose that and let's type in new game. Here we go. Let's move that down. You'll see that there's this massive box around the text, but the text itself is really small. That's because this box is the container and the text is being drawn inside it. Right now the container size isn't important because our text is centered. If you look, if we change the size of the container, then the text remains the same. But if we change the text anchor, let's say to the top right, then if we resize our container, then the text is kept in the top right of the container. But let's keep that centered, and let's resize the container to the text size. Doing this allows you to change the size of buttons. For example, we're going to make this new game text a button later on, so we want this container to fit pretty nicely around our new game text. So for example, we could tweak this a bit more. We could make it slightly wider so it's easier to press on the edges. Now let's make it so that when we hover over this new game button it changes red, because right now if we hit play and click it, hover over it, absolutely nothing happens. This is because we haven't added any components to change the color. To do that, make sure you select the text here, click add component, EVO, let's add output and then color. This component allows you to change the color of a component, and if you have children components it will also make them red in this case. If you want it to only make this one red and not the children red, then you can just disable pass on color. And similarly, if the parent of this, for example, if the wallpaper is made green, then everything under it will be made green as well. But if you want this text to always be red, then just uncheck the inherit color and you see it's red. But we don't want the wallpaper to be green, so let's just remove that. Now, how do we make this text white when it's not hovered and red when it's hovered? To do that, we need to add, well, first we need to add a collider. This allows the mouse to collide with various things. So let's go to add component, EVO, input, and then add a collider. Now if we hit play and we move the mouse over the new game text, you'll see in the scene view the container changes color to yellow when it's hovered, and when you click it down it changes to green. But this alone isn't very useful because our actual text hasn't changed color, it's always red right now. So let's exit play mode, and then we need to add the change color component. To do that, click on add component, EVO event, and then change color. Now you'll see there's a field here called select event and it's marked in red. So if we click this, you'll see various events we can hook to. So let's make it so that when we click, it changes to green. So now if we hit play and we click on our text, it changes to green. So if you want to add multiple different colors, for example, let's add 3 here. Let's make the first one on collider normal. This is when nothing's hovering it and nothing's pressing it. Next, on collider hovered. This is when the mouse is hovering over it. And the third, on collider pressed. This is when the mouse or a touch is pressing down on this collider. So let's change the colors here. Let's make the on normal color, let's make this white. So normally it's white. When it's hovered, let's make this blue, and when we press it down, let's make it red. Now let's change the current color to white, because that's like the default color. Now if we hit play and we hover over, you see it changes to blue, and if we click it changes to red, and if we unclick it goes back to blue, and if we drag away it's still clicked, and if I release the mouse it goes back to white. So that's basic events for this button. Now this main menu is pretty boring. Let's say we want to have this main menu screen and we want to have a second screen, let's say for the actual game. To do that we need to add a slideshow. So let's add a slideshow as a child of canvas. So let's select the 2D canvas. Let's click on create container, and down the bottom you should see slideshow. Now in the slideshow component you have some settings here. The most important one here is the page count. So let's say we want 2 pages, and once we choose 2, you see slideshow now has 2 children, page 1 and page 2. Let's go ahead and name these. Let's call page 1 main game. Page 2, let's call this, let's change page 1 to be main menu and page 2 to be main game. Now if we go to slideshow, you can see in the drop down you can choose between the 2 pages. What this does is enables the current page and disables the non-current page. So let's go ahead and drag our wallpaper and its children into page 1. So now page 1 has the wallpaper, the logo and the text. So if we go to slideshow and change the page to page 2, you see it goes, everything disappears because there's nothing on page 2 yet. But let's go ahead and add something on page 2. Let's say for page 2 we just want some text, so let's select the page 2, go to create container and then add some text. Let's choose the font for the text. Let's call this back to go back. Let's make sure the container fits the size of the text perfectly, like that. Now let's go back to page 1. Let's go back to page 1 here, and we need to make it so that this button changes the page. To do that, let's click on add component here, click on EVO event and click on change page. So the change page component allows us to change page. So right now let's make the page change when we click it. So on collider clicked is the event, and the page we change to is page 2, which is main game. And similarly, let's go to page 2. Let's select the text here. Let's do the same thing, but we haven't added a collider yet, so output, input collider, and then we add the color as well. We want to change the color. Oh, and by the way, if you don't add the color and you just add the change color, then it warns you about not having the color. You can just click fix and it will automatically add the color there. So again, let's add 3 different events. When it's normal, it's white. When it's hovered, let's make it green this time. And when it's pressed down, let's I don't know, make it pink. And let's add the change page event. So EVO event change page. Now let's make it so that when the collider is clicked, we change page to the main menu. Now if we move the slideshow back to page 1 and hit play, you see we can click this, and as soon as we release, it changes to page 2 and we can change back. Now you'll notice that the transition is very bad. It's like very abrupt. Suddenly everything disappears. If you want it to fade smoothly, then select the slideshow game object and go to add component, EVO, output, and then group fade page. Group fade page just basically adds the fade page component to everything underneath this. So if we have a look at page 1, we have a fade page component, and page 2 has fade page component, and the settings are all controlled by this group fade page component. Now let's just hit play, and then if you click the new game button, you'll see it fades to page 2, and if you click back, it smoothly fades back to page 1. And if you look at the slideshow, you have control over the dampening. This means how fast the transition happens. So if I move this to 20 and click new game, then you see it moves almost instantly. But if I lower dampening to like 1.3, then it's very, very smooth. So that's pretty much it for the basic menu example. So please look at my other videos to learn how to do more advanced things, and thank you for watching.